Oh. Okay, on March 8th.
All right, roll call. Commissioner Holder?
Here.
Commissioner Naylor?
Here.
Commissioner Porter?
Here.
Vice Chair Porter?
Here.
And Chair Drew?
Here. Stand for the Pledge of the Allegiance. I will lead you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll get started with presentations.
I'll help out here, Mr. Chair. Tonight, we are honored to recognize Corinne Holder, who's been a commissioner on the Parks and Recreation Commission for 15 years. She has served this community well. She has been innovative. She has worked with staff diligently, and over the years with many various other commissioners along the way. She was a major proponent in Measure R and leading the way with leadership related to the benefits of infrastructure and how that will improve our park system, spaces, trails. So it's been honestly an honor to have been able to work with Corinne through those years. She has sat on a number of subcommittees. She's been chair of this commission a number of times, and it truly is really an honor, Corinne, to have been able to work with you. We've gotten a lot of things done and a lot of things started, and you can be assured that your legacy here in Norco will ever be written into history because of your way of thinking, your hard work, your dedication and love of this community. And I don't think whether it was for the children or for the seniors, everyone in between, you have been really a bright light in this community. And I know on behalf of staff, and I can speak for the commission, I believe too, just thank you. Thank you for what you have done and given to this community. Also, I just want to congratulate you, Jim, and your family on this new adventure you guys will take. How exciting that can be for you. And I just wish you guys the very, very best. We miss you, we love you, and you will always have a special place in our hearts. And Mr. Chair, if we could have some of the staff maybe make some additional comments. We've had a chance to work with her for a long time, and then I think you have a presentation for her.
Absolutely. Michelle?
Dang it. The sentiments that Brian said, there's really not enough words to say about you, Corinne. I'm truly blessed and honored to have worked with you, gotten to know you, be friends with you, laugh. Your spirit and tenacity is like no other that we've had on commission, and your wit and your love of community and helping wherever you can. You stretch yourself so thin, but you're my super chick. You get it done. And there is no words more than thank you for what you have done for this community, for staff, for the commission, and for the guiding spirit that you are in Horsetown, USA. And I am going to miss you. I'm sure we'll be keeping in touch. And yes, congratulations on the new venture in all of your chapters of life, because everybody seems to be going in different directions except for you and Jim, and it's going to be an amazing time. So enjoy it, and thank you again from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you. I do love you too.
Robin?
I'm an emotional person, but I'm not going to let it shine. Again, the sentiments from both Brian and Michelle are repeated. I've been here almost 13 years, and you've been part of this and never mentioned that you would not be part of this. And the way that you always appreciate what staff does, and you're always there to lend a helping hand, and to not see you up at Ingalls is going to be very different. It's not the norm. As Michelle said, your hard work is very much appreciated, and the way you contribute never went unnoticed. So thank you from me and staff. I'm sure that we appreciate everything that you've done, and you're definitely going to be missed. And your husband, he's always part of who you are too, so he's always around, and we're going to miss the Holder family. So best of luck to you.
Patty?
He turns it on.
Okay. Corinne, just ditto all the comments that are said, and all the projects and everything you've taught me in a lot of ways, from community and events. I cannot imagine having an event up at George Ingalls and you not be present. You will always be there. Your spirit will always be there. And I want to say thank you, because your dedication is just incredible.
Alejandro?
I worked with Corinne a short time, but it was always a pleasure. I worked with her on the senior subcommittee, and we worked together in special events. So thank you for your years of service.
Melvin?
Corinne, I just want to say I'm definitely going to miss you too. You guys have always been great. I thank you from when I first started. You guys have always been great, supportive, helped me through, and even when Berwin likes to mess with me to tell me to go in there and grab a bull or go, be friendly with it, you've actually saved me a couple times. But I'm definitely going to miss you. I'm just grateful to have such a great friend and mentor as you, and I wish you nothing but the best. And I love both of you guys.
Todd?
I'm the new guy on the totem pole, but my first time meeting you was the fire we had down in the river, and I didn't know my head from my rear. I'm standing at the gate trying to do these forms, and you were up there commanding, and it's appreciated. And thank you for what you've done for the city, and hopefully we can continue to carry on the legacy. And thank you. Good luck.
Bill?
Corinne, you're just going to be terribly missed. Every event that I've been at, especially with the Horse Act end of it, you're always there. And even parades, anything that I can think of that I've been involved with, you are there and actively involved. And I don't know, I hope we can find someone to even match half of what you do. But thank you very much for all of your service.
Jason?
I think everybody has said quite a bit, and there's going to be a lot of events: Day of the Cowboy, the fair, Christmas parade, tons of events. I can't even think of them right now that are going to miss you. You've done a lot. You actually got me kind of into this, not knowing it. You're a big reason why I'm sitting here today. So, one of the few people that have influenced me into what I've been doing around the city and why I volunteer. I appreciate it, and good luck.
Shane?
Well, I'm the newest on the board up here, so I have the least amount of exposure to you, but I have enjoyed the few months that we have had together. I was looking forward to learning more, but now you're off on a new adventure, so as I say, bad for the city, good for you. So enjoy your adventure.
So, Corinne, I kind of came by this whole deal sort of by accident, and I had no knowledge. I've bounced so many things off of you. You're an absolute library of knowledge. I will have to call you. There's no doubt. You just know so many people and know so much of everything. You were greatly, greatly missed. Thank you.
From Bonnie Schlager. On behalf of Norco Horsemen's Association, I would like to thank Corinne for her many hours of service to NHA over the years. Thank you, Corinne, and we wish you the best. Bonnie Schlager, President.
It's funny, as we're going around the room and we got to Melvin, and I remember talking to Melvin the other day, we were all panicking, oh no, what are we going to do about NARP? She's the one, all right, let's call Corinne because she gets the ball moving with everybody. So we had to figure some stuff out with that, but she just does so much in this community, and as we've all said, you're going to be very missed, and we just hope the very best for you and Jim and your family, and enjoy life. JT, I think we have a presentation for you, and then also, Corinne, on behalf of staff and everyone, these flowers are for you to take home and enjoy, and just a way of us saying thanks for everything.
Yep. Take it over to her. Oh. Holder, Park and Recreation Committee. Hiring Commission to
Can we get a picture with the commissioners and everybody? Maybe if everybody could maybe come down here, we'll take one group picture. Let's do it in the front. All people in the back. There we go. Yeah, we'll fit in there somewhere. Yeah, otherwise we'll hear about it on Facebook.
Come on, come on, come on.
Actually, now it's like. Oh, we have some work on our truck, and so we were kind of like, oh.
We'll have Tylenol and some champagne.
Okay, so now I'll leave the best for last. Corinne, any words of wisdom you may have to bestow upon us?
You already got me crying, for crying out loud. No, it's been amazing to see the new group of people, applications that have come in. So as commissioners, you know, you've all been very active in the community in your own way. And you always kind of look for commissioners that can balance things out, you know, more sports, horse. So it's one thing about this commission that's always important to look at. And I think, you know, over the years, we've had some amazing people that always balance the cards out and make sure that all of our people are being looked after and, you know, being considered. So, whew. The last round of applications, there was a crazy amount of good applications, and so I know somebody good will come in. Whew. Yeah, it is hard to leave Norco. We love it here. And even though you've all said some very nice things about me, we always say Parks is the hardest working staff in this city. And I would never take any of that back because you guys all work hard. And if you see me working hard, it's because I see you working hard. So everybody, as long as you keep working hard, everyone around you will keep working. And you will inspire them to step up to that next level, regardless of what you think they can accomplish and what they think they can accomplish themselves. So you work hard, they're going to work harder. And that's what you take into every event. And I did promise Horse Week and the fair that I would come back and help train someone, so you might see me. You might see me at Ingalls Park if California ever opens up again. It's coming, we hope. We just need a lot of people so, you know, we can sell beer. Because that's how those events really make their money. But thank you guys so much for all of your sentiments, and we will miss you. Whew. But we're going to post our adventures online so you can keep track of us. Oh, my husband really is liking Montana, and there are a lot of breweries there. I mean, even small towns. I'm like, it's 2,000 people. There's 3 breweries. Apparently, there's nothing else to do up there, so I guess we'll see. But we're going to do a long trip and check out a couple of states since this was not really planned, and we have no idea where we're going. But thank you.
Oh, okay. So let's get back to the program here. Public comments. Do we have any public comments?
Robin, do we need to read that information so that people that are watching it online would know to call in, or? I know they do at the council meeting. I just didn't know if we would do it here.
So at this time, I'll close the public comments, and I'll move to item 2 of the consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any public comments on the consent items will be heard prior to the motion to consider action by the commission. There will be no separate action unless members of the commission request specific items be removed from the consent calendar. I'll start with Corinne. Do you have anything to pull, ma'am?
Just I. Private youth sports update.
You? Shane? Shane is good. Jason?
I'm good too.
Bill?
C.
And C. Okay. So I will entertain a motion for the rest of the items on the consent.
Move that we approve all items that were not pulled from the consent calendar.
A second.
I have a motion and a second.
Vote to approve the remaining consent calendar items. Commissioner Holder?
Yes.
Commissioner Naylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Vice Chair Boersma?
Yes.
And Chair Guru?
Yes.
Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill pulled item C.
Yes. I just wanted to step up and thank park staff for getting right on a problem that was brought to my attention here very recently up at Pikes Peak Park. As most of you know, we have a lot of walkers that go up there in the morning and get their exercise, and a lot of them are seniors, and one of them, my neighbors, had said that, hey, there was a really slippery issue on the sidewalks up there, too much moisture. And when I brought it to Todd's attention, he had said yes, they were aware. They were actually in the process of taking care of it. They said they thought it was a 3-inch water line underneath the concrete that was leaking, and he got it all dug up and found out it wasn't. It was a spring, I guess, right? That's correct. And so I guess they are in the process of trying to resolve that problem with some drainage issues and such too, because the one thing we sure don't want is one of our seniors slipping and falling on that wet concrete. But I, again, want to thank them for getting right on that.
Any more on item C as in Charlie?
If there's no other comments, I'll make a motion to approve.
Since it was
file, I guess receive and file is, I guess, the correct term.
since it was pulled, I wanted to thank Todd. Has anybody gone by Waymaking in the last 3 weeks?
Yeah.
What an improvement! I mean, he has really got on to the contractor and made some major improvements there, where the youth sports is gonna actually have a season where all 6 fields are going to look awesome when they start. Usually it's 1 or 2 fields that look pretty good, but all 6 of these fields are going to be premium, ready to play. And I want to thank him for all the hard work that he had to do of kicking people around to make sure this work got done, and I just want to say thanks.
No, I thank you for the accolades, but it's. I have a great team helping and a lot of good oversight, so we all appreciate it.
Okay, any other comments on item C?
Then I'll go ahead and restate my motion that receive and file.
I'll second it.
Is there anybody from the public? Not on this, right?
You go through.
Okay.
Let's,
We have a number.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay. Corinne pulled item I.
Yes, so I had a question for Alejandro. I don't think you were here at the last meeting, were you? I think we discussed this with Michelle. So I just had a question regarding JAF. they hadn't been present at the previous sports meeting, so it looks like you have spoken to them and gotten a date that they're going to be on track to hopefully do some either practices and or have a season next year.
So
I guess it's this year.
Correct. So
yeah, at the end of the year.
Sometime, hopefully this year. Yes.
Yeah.
So Jeff was at a meeting we had with the youth sports groups this past Thursday, the 4th, and they were present. They provided input. They had questions regarding the new guidelines that have been issued, and those questions were answered. And they're working on providing a proposal. They were given the information on what's necessary for them to move forward and host either camps or competition here in the city. So yes, we were able to communicate with them. They made contact, and they were participating at the meeting.
Great, thank you for the update.
Thank you.
I know they've been one of the harder hits with the
They
cost,
have.
with
And
the
they
cost for
expressed
Jeff
that.
and everything. So
Right.
it's good to hear that they have made contact and gotten that squared away. Hopefully it all works
So
out.
we hope they're on the way to building a return to play, return to competition plan that they can submit to the city.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments on item I?
I'll move to receive and file.
I have
A second.
a motion and a second.
Yes.
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 Yes. So are there any, anything else on that? Thank you. We will move on to item number 4. Commission action items. A. Todd?
Thank you very much. We're going to discuss the playground equipment replacement project. Before I jump into the physical attributes of this, I want just to briefly go over how this all came to fruition and how we got the funding and such, just real quickly. Obviously, several of these play structures have served their life and are due for replacement. Repair becomes costly, and it doesn't make sense after a while when the entire structure is starting to fall apart. So we've gone through and we've selected 4 of the playgrounds in the most need. Portion of this, so the way we've set this up is Prop 68 is a grant fund. We're utilizing $194,000 from this particular grant, and then Measure R is funding the remaining balance of $308,692, which gives us a grand total of just over $500,000 at $503,000. The initial portion of this, so what we've done is we've opted to select a playground manufacturer, and in that process we're looking for these 4 playgrounds that we're going to go through this evening. The purchase alone of just the structure is $205,000 and change for these 4 structures. That's just the playgrounds. The remaining balance will be used to demo and install the new ones, along with the PIP, or the pour in place, the safety surfacing. So that's a little background on the actual project that we're doing. In this process, we're looking at ADA features, incorporating shade, moving to the rubber footing or the PIP. We do have this in a couple facilities. It's up in the districts, but predominantly most of our parks are the wood fiber. And I'm not going to say things don't need constant maintenance, because they do, but we won't have to replace wood with the wind. as it blows. So we're looking at the life expectancy is pretty solid with the PIP. It's at least a decade. And if we can take care of it and keep it clean. And then also with this project, we're incorporating some new benches and trash receptacles. So going from here, so obviously the 4 parks in question are Sundance, Kipps Corner, Pacer, and Parmenter. All have their own unique themes. Other than Parmenter, the rest are pretty much in homes, and we be classified as a pocket park, if you will. Obviously, Pavement is geared towards baseball, but the little kids that aren't playing baseball need something to do. So what we've done is I've sat down with 2 committee members, and we're looking at, let me move forward here. So what we took a look at when we met was, these are some of the color palettes or the options that we referenced when choosing colors for these structures. And I think the consensus for the group was to try and stay more earth-toned color. As you can see, some of these are pretty vibrant, spring in particular. But so what I've done here is I put together, this for example is the Sundance. I have 2 different angles of this picture, but the colors, initially the group had tried to choose, here, I'll go over here. We were going to try and do a green color canopy, but the green color, it didn't work. So I did have them change it to blue to match the posts and some of the other. It's not as bright a blue, but our group initially had chosen the darker green, but it stood off with the, I don't want to say lime green, but that's kind of what that is. All the surfacing is, when I say the surfacing, is more of a cobblestone look. It's basically a tan and a black mixed together. This can be several different options, but for our climate and I don't want to say it hides dirt, but it does in a sense if you had an orange or a yellow or something very bright. So we're trying to kind of keep it with the Norco colors. This is the other angle of the playground. Obviously, we have to work within a certain footprint. Sundance, if you're familiar, it's just kind of the round circle right in front of the park. So we've tried to choose, stuff that's not insanely bright, but more earth-toned with a little pop here and there. Next park is Kipps Corner, which is just down the road from, wait, I'm sorry, I was thinking Pacer. Kipps Corner's on the other side of the road over there on Corridon. But this is a larger footprint. We do have a lot of room. This is actually our largest footprint of the 4 playgrounds being exchanged. I just pushed the wrong one. Incorporating swings, we do have an ADA swing, which is, I don't know that we have currently in the city, but I'm trying to incorporate more usage for ADA. Right now there's a rail slide that's there that's underneath the tree, so I'll give you another angle. So these are earth tones. I tried to break it up a little bit too, because we got a lot of the tan going through. I'm trying to break it up and still have it. We have a big sycamore tree in the back of this park, so we tried to stay with the tree theme, or the more jungle. A lot of the apparatuses, this park in particular, in the past you have like a playground that's for 2 through 5, and then you have one that's 5 through 12. Some of the larger footprints we can still be able to do that, but the smaller parks such as Sundance, which only have one structure, we try and look at items for 2 through 12. So it's an all-around playground. I tried to stay away from anything loud and noisy. They have musical instruments you can incorporate into playgrounds. They have a lot of really neat stuff. But it's still fun. It's a way for the kids to get out and be able to expend some energy. Pacer Park is, again, we have a lot of similar colors, but we're going with more earth tone. Some of the poles are green, some of the poles are blue, and the other facilities. This is another angle from Pacer, which also has a set of swings. Yeah, I just wanted to run it by and see what everyone thought. Parmenter, this is called a Sahara Palette, and I can go back to the initial color slide. It's hard to see in this picture, but the decking is brown. It's just, I don't know. I have another option after. I'll show you these, but I had a hard time with these colors, but it's not my say, but I wanted to at least give you guys an option to see what other colors would be. Now, if this is what the consensus is, this is fine. I just, I wasn't a gigantic fan, so I figured I'd jump in. And now if everybody's fine with this, that's what we want, that's fine. Very earth tone, other than the red, but, and then the other one no, it's more of almost a maroon, like a darker red. I mean, it's not bright, you know, like McDonald's red, but more of a really darker red. It's hard to see the browns, but the browns are really prevalent. All the walkways inside all up in here. This is all really a dark brown. But and then the option I put is, this is option 2. This is the ocean breeze color. Now again, this may not be where we want to go, but I just wanted to show options if we didn't care for the Sahara color. So what I ended up doing, just so everyone knows, I met with the committee, we picked colors, and then I actually had it put on the particular playground we were looking at. So we weren't 100, they hadn't seen it 100% until now. And again, the slide's a little bright, but anything can be changed. We can change any color of anything. I just wanted everyone to be able to see what they would look like.
As part of our past practice with playgrounds, we typically work with the subcommittee, kind of narrow it down, and then we bring it to the commission. One, because both Todd and I don't want to be responsible for if the community hates these colors. We want the commission to be responsible. No, that's just joking. But it really is to get a collective idea, because you guys live in these neighborhoods and what you think would fit our community and colors. And so part of this will be part of our recommendation. We're going to be moving this project forward to the City Council for award of procurement, which would be to award the contract to Miracle so we can order the equipment. While we're doing that, then we go out to bid, because it's a two-pronged project. And so order the equipment because there's a lead time on this equipment. And we're being told right now as much as 60 plus days on lead time. So with that, we want to be able to get the award of contract done and ready to go, so that we can then bring the new equipment in. Some of our pieces of equipment, as Todd indicated earlier on, are at a point of disarray where we've actually fenced them off. So we want to get this project done so when summer hits, the kids can enjoy it. One of the items that I really like what Todd added to the features were the shade structures. We do not have those existing now. And I also like the addition of the swing, that we were able to fit that in. Swings are a tough one because they require additional square footage for landing, but he was able to fit this in where right now we only have one swing set in the city, and that's up at Pikes Peak. And as you can see, this one also has an accessible therapeutic chair along with it. The one other item is with the pour in place, it makes the whole structure accessible versus for a wheelchair or for parents to engage with their children. So tonight we want to just firm up. If there's another color you guys like better, you can tell us tonight, and we will go through and we'll adjust to make a final decision. So tonight we'd like to get this nailed down so that we can take it to the next step.
All right, we'll start with Corinne.
After seeing the original page that had the palette colors, I was a little scared, but I really did like the color choices that the committee has gone with. I think Sundance is already basically those same colors. My only question on having the two options for Parmenter, they both have some green and tan, and that's what, don't mind me, that's what color the bathroom is, right? Is tan with the green roof? Or something like that?
I believe
I meant to drive
so.
by it today, and I
think it
forgot.
also has like a burgundy or red trim, kind of a burgundy trim to it.
Okay,
on
so
the
it would
doors
still-
and things like that.
I would like it to match. I know that's a little silly, but I appreciate a lot. The shade structures are going to be so nice for summer for the kids and being able to play on those. But yeah, I really liked the color option, so I would be happy with any of those. I don't think we need the super primaries in some of these pocket parks where people are driving by and seeing them every day. It's great over at off of 5th Street where there's not housing right there that people have to see it. So I think these are nice, easy on the eyes, but you can see that there's something fun out there. And I'm just excited to have these done because, like I said before, my kids were playing on these when they were babies and they're 20. So it is going to be really nice to have some new play equipment out there for these parks.
Thank you. Shane?
Yeah, Todd, on the shade structures, how much shade do they put over? Is it just a small portion? Do they cover 50%? I mean, going like a noonday sun.
Yeah, a lot of them cover just the core. I mean, some of them, I'm trying to give you a good example. It probably covered, this one in particular covers probably about 65% of the actual structure. Obviously, your noontime is going to be your hottest.
Yeah.
It doesn't encompass the entire thing, but I think it's to break it up. I can find out the actual UV blocking of the actual shade. I don't know that off the top of my head.
I was just looking primarily more towards a hot play equipment, you know, for kids up there crawling around and getting burned. And then that leads into the second question with the darker slides and stuff. Does it absorb more heat and make it hotter for the kids? Or is there really do they discuss that at all? To where lighter, you know, less hot?
I think there's something to that. I mean, it's not like the old steel slides back in the day where you get cooked. But again, just like any other color, I think a darker color would hold more heat. We did coordinate all the swings a lighter color, and they're all the same color, so we can utilize parts. If I have to replace slides, I have intermix, between the two. But there, if you have a black slide and you have a tan slide, it's going to be, I think you're still going to be warm because it's still plastic, but it might be a touch, it might hold heat longer, as the evening goes on. But for the most part, the technology's come a long ways in regards to holding the color patterns. That was something else we talked about. Pikes Peak's a red, it's kind of a pinkish tone, so they've made a lot of improvements over the years with colors holding their color.
So they're not going to sun fade.
Yeah, so it's not nearly as bad. So.
All right, thanks.
Jason?
I am good with all the colors. Parmenter was your only question. Actually, I like the red and slides on there. I think it really makes it kind of pop off.
Okay.
But I'm definitely glad nobody picked the yellow. I looked at that on the color palette and I'm like, ooh, that's bright.
All right. Bill?
Yes. I was on the subcommittee on this project, and we came in with a couple of varying ideas when we were talking about it with Todd. And just so that the rest of the commission understands, we had thoughts of, well, a nice bright color which kids really like to migrate to and have fun on, but there were some issues, as Todd had indicated, that experience shows that a lot of these colors do fade over time. They just don't seem to hold up in the bright sun. And we were real happy with the idea with the shade cloth on the top to give them some protection. And these shade cloths are quite dense, if I recall correctly when I was looking at the report. It will provide quite a bit of shade. The other item that we suggested, and I think he's probably going to try to include this, assuming that he's talked to Brian about it, I don't know if he has yet or not, was that we were trying to keep things in a color scheme that would not clash with the neighborhood, because some of these are little pocket park type things, and if you got something that's just too bright next to the houses, that doesn't always go well. So that worked out well. But we also wanted to keep some of the equipment consistent in color from all the parks so that he could get parts easy, because as they've indicated, they're talking about 60-90 day order time, and he indicated during at our meeting that he's already had this year he's had to replace already 3 swings, and you got to order one and then wait 3 months and order another, so I suggested, and I think hopefully they'll be able to do that in their bid, was to, on a couple of parts that they know they will probably have to replace on a routine basis, to try to get a couple of those in stock ahead of time so that you're not putting a piece of equipment out of play for a couple of months. Not saying you have to get a bunch of them, but he specifically was talking about the swings. If you had those, then you can go ahead and easily replace those. But there may be a couple of other parts in here that, from experience, you know that, hey, this is a part that's going to get broken or vandalized or whatever, and we should have a couple of pieces of that. And we did look at the pour-in-place footing there, and JT does have a lot of experience with that with horse trailers, actually. So we talked about that at length, and there were several different color schemes that we could have gone with that, but we wanted to go with a lighter color, and to I think it was Jason's comment here about the heat. We're worried about too much reflective heat, so we tried to stay with a lighter colors where possible so that we just didn't burn the kids. So those were just some of the comments that we had. I'm very comfortable with what the subcommittee came up with, and listening to the commission here, they've all pretty much had the same comments, same ideas.
All right, very good. All right, so as Bill mentioned, I was on that subcommittee, and I'm the one that went in there and was thinking the reds and the blues and the yellows, and when we started talking a little more about it, and in the little parks, especially over Kip's Corner, they got that big sycamore tree. Try to make it look a little more like the playground is supposed to be there, and go with our theme. But I'm the one that was like, oh yeah, reds and yellows, and I was so, again for the kids, but you got to think in those pocket parks, the families that live there, if it melts into the scenery, that's probably more in line to our town. So, any more discussions?
Just the clarification, I believe the Sahara for perimeter is the one we are recommending versus. Okay.
Yeah, the Sahara. Because that's the one with the bathroom that has kind of that cinnamon color on it. Isn't it kind of cinnamon color, that trim?
Perimeter has green on its trim and that, but the cinnamon color would be more towards Sundance. So this one, though, fits well within you have trees to the back side of that property along the property line just to the east. So this is a very small space too. It's not a huge space either. It's at the end of the parking lot.
Good job, Todd. Thank you very much. You put a lot of time on this.
Appreciate all your help. Thank you.
what we would like to do is get a recommendation from the commission to recommend approval for this project and these color schemes to the city council.
I would entertain a motion then.
I think we need to see if we have any public comments.
Yep, thank you. Any public comments on this one?
We have no comments in the queue.
Okay, thank you for that. Moving on to item 5.
No, we still need to approve it.
Need to motion and a
We
second.
need a motion and a second.
Yeah, I will move to approve the recommended color palettes for the playground equipment replacement project and for Parmenter going with the Sahara color, which was the original recommendation.
I would be willing to second that.
I have a motion and a second. Dang it.
Yes.
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 Yes,
Those recommendations will be forwarded to city council. Thank you.
thank you. Now moving on to number 5, staff and subcommittee reports. Number A, special events subcommittee.
I have one right now. I think it's right after it. Yeah, it's fine. So for the special event subcommittee report, staff has been preparing details for this year's annual egg hunt. Due to COVID-19, it will once again be modified. It will be a drive-through event held at the Wayne Macon Sports Complex. The event will be on Saturday, April 3rd, and it will include the opportunity for the participants to see the Easter Bunny, and it'll be a pre-registered event for Norco residents only. It's free of charge, and participants are guaranteed eggs and prepackaged snacks in their bags as well. Additionally, sponsorship packets have been distributed for the 2021 summer special events. This is contingent upon California Department of Public Health guidelines and CDC guidelines and the tier that the county finds itself in during that time. But the events may include drive-in movies, drive-in comedy nights, drive-in concerts, and geocaching, especially during July Parks Make Life Better Month, because there's a specific program that actually allows us to use the geocaching feature free for that month with CPRS membership. Additionally, the kickoff meeting for the Horsetown Parade of Lights and Winter Festival took place on February 18th. The next scheduled meeting is March 18th, and at the meeting, the discussion was relocating the festival to the upper level of the George Ingalls Equestrian Event Center, and the discussion was also centered around potential grand marshals for the event. And that's all I have at this time.
Thank you. That was A and B?
No, that's just the special event subcommittee
Okay.
report, but I'm ready to move on if you guys don't have any questions.
Is there any? Okay. I'll entertain a motion and a second.
Motion to receive and file special event subcommittee report.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second.
Vote to receive and file special event subcommittee report. Commissioner Holder?
Yes.
Commissioner Naylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Vice Chair Boersma?
Yes.
And Chair Guru?
Yes.
Motion passed. Thank you.
Okay, item B, Senior and Human Services Subcommittee report.
Okay, so Just as to reiterate, the Senior Center continues to partner with Riverside County Office on Aging and provide the meal pickup, drive-through meal pickups every Friday from 9 to 10 a.m. Seniors receive 7 frozen meals. They can let us know at the time of pickup if they want to reserve for next Friday, or they can call the Senior Center and make that reservation as well. Last Friday, we had 64 participants drive by and pick up meals. Additionally, the senior transportation program continues to operate. That has not stopped. We've actually had participants who've called in, and we've driven them to get their vaccines and continuing to drive them to get groceries, doctor's appointments, so that remains in operation. And we recently submitted the application for the Riverside County Transportation Commission Measure A. So our transportation program was funded through Measure A funds, and it was a 3-year funding project. So we just submitted for another 3 years, and we hope to hear back sometime in April if that was approved. Inland County Legal Services continues to provide services to seniors over the phone. So does Health Insurance Cancel Advocacy Program. We get a lot of referrals, a lot of individuals who call and have questions on that, and the Senior Center serves as a referral to connect them to those agencies. We continue to provide our senior newsletter on a monthly basis. We provide this to all of our drive-through meal pickup participants. We also take it to neighboring senior housing complexes, and they also receive not just the newsletter, they receive an activity packet, they receive a personal care item, and they also receive a healthy snack every month. So we put that together, and we continue to do that. And to keep them engaged, we have different activities on a monthly basis. For February, the activity was a Valentine's Day activity. They were to call and share how they're practicing any self-love or self-care during the month of February. And we did get calls in, and then we have a winner. We take and deliver the prize to them, and we take a picture so we can put it in our memory book for when they return. Additionally, for the month of March, we're doing a senior activity that's focused around staying active and keep moving. So we're having them call in and share how they're staying active, whether it's taking a walk in their neighborhood, whether it's engaging in some meditation and some yoga. We have some participants that walk the path of travel around the senior center and then do exercise or Tai Chi outside. So we have them call in, and we've already got some participants. The winners will be getting a Zumba kit with exercise videos and nutritional information. And then we actually have added 2 additional senior garden spaces with the help of building staff and senior center staff. There's 2 included pictures in your packet. So previously we had 19 spaces, and now we've added 2 additional spaces, and those spaces have already been provided to individuals who are on the senior garden wait list. And that's all I have.
Any comments?
I think I might. May sound a little strange, but in your exercise section that you just talked about,
yes.
Are there any of the seniors that are signed up to work with the volunteers at the animal center, walking the dogs and such? That might be a good way for them to get their actual normal exercise in and have to do it. It's just a thought. It might be something you guys could work together on.
Yeah, definitely. Me and Melvin can connect on that. Thank you for sharing.
I know. The reason I said it is right now my horse is got a stifle problem, and I'm having to walk it twice a day, and I'm getting about a mile in just walking. So I'm getting my exercise too.
No, that's a great point, because a lot of the residents use our path to walk their dogs. So mostly Clark Terrace, because they have a dog area in their facility. Heritage Park across the street does not. So most of the dog owners are from Clark Terrace right next to us, and they do come out. We see them walking their dogs either early in the morning or late afternoon. So yeah, that's a great idea. Individuals who don't have pets might be interested in doing that.
Any other comments? Do we have anything from the public? Yes, ma'am. Trying to stay on top of that. Okay, so I would entertain a motion on that to receive and file it. Close the public comments? Okay.
I'll move to receive and file 5B Senior and Human Services Subcommittee report.
I have
I'll
a
second.
motion. And a second from Shane.
Vote to receive and file the Senior and Human Services Subcommittee report. Commissioner Holder?
Yes.
Commissioner Naylor? Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Vice Chair Boersma?
Yes.
And Chair Guru?
Yes.
Pass, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item C, Ingalls Development Subcommittee report. Ms. Patty?
Hi, good evening. I'd like to share with you some improvements and development going on at George Ingalls. For those that haven't been up there or may see some improvements going on between drains and things like that, we have, I want to step through, starting on the east pad. We have bioswales 3 and 4. Those are just on the east of Merino. There, 18 trees have been planted, irrigation has been installed, and they're working on plant material. Next, we'll step to the pole barn. On March 4th, bids were opened for the pole barn area for demolition project. Bids were received by approximately 6 companies. The award of contract is on City Council's agenda for March 17th. Once approved, staff will meet with the contractors, move forward with the project. Staff is working with RKA Consulting Group on design of new pole barns, JCA Engineering Inc. for electrical design and specifications. For those that have been around, Nellie Weaver Hall on the east side, on the slope, we've all seen drainage, water collecting, so staff is working on that project to get a retaining wall installed. We're working with RKA Consulting Group for design, and the area, this particular area, everybody knows, fills with groundwater. We have searched and searched for that broken line, and it's not there. Nellie Weaver Hall stage door replacement, the big, huge indoor-outdoor overhang door needs to be replaced. It's inoperable, it's unsafe, it's shut down, it's red tagged, as Brian would say. We're working on a request for proposal with companies to get that replaced. Next, still at Nellie Weaver Hall, a lot going on over there. The parking lot electrical. The parking lot electrical, all those yellow pedestals that have been hit more than once and have lived out their life and have underground wiring. This particular project will basically demo out the whole parking lot, all trees, all electrical, all asphalt that currently exists doesn't exist. That project will, we're working with RKA Consulting Group with design. We need drainage, bioswale, and JCA Engineering is working on design and specifications for electrical requirements. We're taking a look at. We don't want to, we would like to recommend some electrical in that parking lot area. Some other projects that are ongoing are ADA parking pad up on the top level. March 3rd, ADA Ingalls parking improvement bid opening took place. Approximately 7 bids were received. Award of contract is on City Council's agenda again for March 17th. Once approved, staff will meet with the contractors to move forward with the proposal, with the project. Merino Arena Sound. Merino Arena Sound is about 21, 22 years old, and staff is gathering data to prepare a request for proposal and qualifications for the arena sound system. We're evaluating it for different options, and we'll be working with the subcommittee by the end of the, with the Ingalls Improvement Committee by the end of the month. To see what options they have for that particular arena for sound. Veterans Memorial, approximately 20 feet of drain pipe was extended at the Veterans Memorial west side in the landscape area. This is to support the rain runoff during heavy storms. Also, a considerable amount of mulch was added to the landscape area. It looks really good. And that's about 8 projects going on. If you have any questions, Todd? Sorry, I'm in trouble.
I was going to add something, Patty, and perhaps JT can comment on a little bit. As you know, the Gold Star Families project was approved by council and moving down the road. We'll provide an update to you, more thorough one update, but JT sits on that subcommittee, and we are working diligently to work on the site plan as well as the monument, which will be part of the Woody Williams Foundation. And we have 2 subcommittees actually working on that along with the Veterans Committee. So I don't know, anything else you want to add, JT, other than?
There's some drainage already worked into that for the Gold Star, Blue Star mothers, and that may help with some of the drainage, because we're going to get a little better footprint up there, and we'll have a little better control with our shrubbery and our vegetation, I suppose is the right word. So that there's definitely something going on with that will help tremendously. Do we have any questions, Bill?
Yeah. I know that we've talked about the door at Nellie Weaver, that large door that you want to replace, and I'm wondering, all the times I've been there, I've never seen the door used because it's always been unsafe to use. Is there a reason to even have the door, or should we just close it off and not worry about it? I mean, put the wall in there and forget the door. I'm just trying to say, is there a reason for it?
Because our stage is an inside-outside stage.
Oh.
So the amphitheater, to have that stage, and if you were to use the back half and stage behind there, whether it be entertainment or theatrical or whatever, you'd have no way of getting from the inside to the outside, because when we have had performances in the amphitheater, Nellie Weaver Hall and the dressing rooms and all those things become part of what I want to call backstage. Okay. And so that's why, Bill, something to be put in there so that becomes part of use. Now, if we wanted to do something different with that amphitheater, then maybe it's not as pertinent. But right now, because of the way it's designed, and that stage door actually comes out over the outdoor stage when it's lifted.
To provide a roof.
And it can be used. It's just not, it's a very, very old design. It's not what we would build today. And so coming up with something that is more, friendly to open up, because this one takes like an army to open up and do it safely. But yet, and to really come up with something that door is probably, Patty, what, 45, 50 years old?
70s, 1970s.
Yeah. So it's very old. So I think coming up with something else, if you could think of old garage spring door with huge springs on it, so.
Yeah. No, I was just trying, because I've never seen or known that area to be used out there for an outside event. So I know we have our concerts and such over at the park across the street, and I just was wondering if it would just to solve the problem if we closed it off. I didn't know. I'm just throwing ideas out.
Before the fair moved to the upper areas to Clark and Marino arenas, it was used very heavily, particularly during the fair, and then other events have satellite and used it. We have ideas of maybe trying to do more out there, but it has not had that activity or use since the fair moved most of the operations up onto.
Okay, thank you.
Jason?
No, I'm good.
Green?
Yes. I have one question, Patty, for Nellie Weaver Hall improvements. Has any thought, I haven't seen it in here, given to the ice house the big square block that sits in the middle of the parking lot. I was thinking, it's the ice house, but if you're going to store ice in it, why not get one of those smaller ones you see like a Circle K? It's got the big doors on it that you can open, put it back on the patio, and you can get rid of that out of your parking lot. As far as I'm concerned, all it is a building with an air conditioner stuck on the side. It's constantly breaking or leaking.
The ice house in this design is being worked on. All of that, it's removed.
Okay.
But part of that process will have to be, do we relocate it? Do we do something with it or get rid of it? The ice house itself is very old. I can only attest to you many, many years ago, there was an older ice house, almost in the same place.
There was.
That was removed around fair time. It created a major rift through the community to where another ice house had to be purchased, even though it was used, and put in its place. So it has been one of those type of, it's kind of like an artifact that you got to keep around, one of those.
Yeah.
But I think obviously your suggestion probably maybe makes more sense in today's world versus many, many years ago. Even the fair, now they hire a contractor out who brings ice in. It's much more easier, much more efficient than having to bag your own ice, put it in the ice house to be able to use it. Just today's a little bit different than it used to be.
So like I say, Jedediah Norco brought that in originally when he settled Norco, and that's an artifact.
Yeah, but when we redo the parking lot plan, it's not in the parking lot plan.
Corinne?
It's funny, both of those items have been brought up a multitude of times, but yes, as the fair has moved itself upstairs and companies bring in ice and housing for it, that's a lot easier because you don't have to unload it and all that kind of crazy. Yeah, we had discussed removing the ice house, and it will probably have its uproar, but there's better ways to handle that. And then I wanted, it wasn't just this report, but all the staff reports with all the photos was really nice. You know, everybody tries to add some photos, but we had a lot of good photos this time because I think we've talked about it in the past. But the Ingalls Park East Pad, the bioswales look great. Those came out really nice. It's been a long time that we've talked about upgrading those, and our recent walkthroughs and changes that you guys were going to make, those actually, I was really impressed with the photos on that. Just, it looks so much better. So hopefully those will work out a lot better, and got the grading now done and all of that. So those look really good. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. And I, for one, have put ice in both of those ice houses and taken ice out of both of those ice houses. so, and I've opened that door to the stage a couple of times. So it's kind of one of those landmark things, but it's probably seen its better days. But I'm sure in the works there's somewhere to store some ice, because on some things, you know, the weddings and, you know, some of the big deals, some of the big rides for, you know, the ice house has been used over the years, I assure you. I'm glad to hear that the stage door is going to get a makeover, because that thing is, I for one have opened that a couple of times, and it does take 6 or 8 guys to do that. So I think the park up there is looking amazing. I'm really happy the bioswales did turn out well. So I think you're doing an amazing job. Staff is really putting it to it up there. So with that being said, is there any public comment on that? So with that, I'll close the public comment portion of that, and I will entertain a motion to receive and file.
Make a motion that we receive and file.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second.
Vote to receive and file the George Ingalls Equestrian Event Center Development and Operations Subcommittee report. Commissioner Holder?
Yes.
Commissioner Naylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Porter?
Yes.
Vice Chair Boersma?
Yes.
And Chair Guru?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
With that, we will move to item 6, the director discussion time. Number A, Measure R, CIP update from Brian. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. This is our update on the 2021 CIPs and our Measure R program. These are the existing projects to date, trail rehabilitation project. These are just some of the projects that are going on. I'm not going to go into these. These are really more for Chad and Public Works and Streets and Trails, but Chad has identified existing projects of originally 550. They've revised this. This is part of the overall trail maintenance program and what Council recently approved, which we will now be moving on to an annual maintenance program for our trail system. Remember that this first year was really rehabilitation, reconstruction of trail. Now we're moving on to maintenance and keeping those trails up to speed, and this was part of that program. Trail fencing replacement, $500,000 was identified for that. To install approximately 24,306 feet of new white vinyl fencing. They have started that project, and we're finishing in January of this year and to be completed by June of this year. And then these are the trail fencing replacement locations that were selected by Streets and Trails and was reviewed by the Measure R and City Council. River Road Trail project, there's $100,000 identified for this, and this is from Corydon Avenue to Kipps Corner Road. And one of the thoughts is to do an improvement along that road, which would be east of Corydon up to the shopping center. We would take the trail and improve it all the way up to Kipps Corner, and then the rest of that would become an actual sidewalk at the east side of that Kipps Corner up to the shopping center. And that, if you know that area well, there's a missing section right there that would just be finished off. And so this part of this program was there. The council identified us to do the parkway, taking a look at that, and so they are in design right now on that. Valley View Avenue Pavement Project, there's $800,000 was identified on this particular project for Measure R. Parking lots, Animal Control, Palmer Park, Wayne Macon. This project is $286,000. All parking lots were surveyed by Kelso Associates, and RKA has provided professional engineering services and design. We are particularly right now working on this particular project right now to prepare for it to get ready for bid. One of our concerns was actually with the way, when you look at a parking lot now, if you have more than 5,000 square feet of rehabilitation, or rehabilitation reconstruction, then you have to capture the water and put it into a bioswale and take it away. Just so you have to understand that now creates additional cost to projects. So our concern in looking at this, when we identified our problems and looking at it, actually Palmer Park is one of the worst parking lots to have to be done. Wayne Macon, we had thought would need a lot more after evaluation. What really is the concern that we're making is, I call them helicopter pads, but it's the handicap pads that are lifted. We have one down by the girls' softball fields, which would be 4, 5, and 6. That one has to be rebuilt and done. And so when we look at those particular areas where you have an elevation drop, you have to raise that aft. So that's all being engineered, although we are looking at that parking lot slurry and stripe with that type of rehabilitation would work well in this based on RKA's evaluation. So we're looking at actually doing this project when we go out with one of our large city slurry projects and try and save money through that process. Perimeter park and animal control, there are still some issues related to animal control because animal control, that parking lot kind of slides down low and to the middle. It's going to have to be lifted up. That drain will then connect over into the drainage channel that is just to the south of that particular parking lot. Riley Gym improvements. We've hired GMID Architectural Services to go through this particular project. We'll take a look at all of the acoustics and Title 24 requirements we need to do, as well as the front door related to ADA compliance. One of our problems we found, even though the door may meet most of the requirements, the problem we had was when we had sports wheelchairs. When we do our annual annual wheelchair basketball tournament, they would have to take an actual wheel off to get through the front door. As you know, sports wheelchairs are more wider at the lower end. It wouldn't fit through the door. So what we want to do is create a door there that would be would provide that sort of accommodation. Pool demolition, if you haven't been by the community center, we are approximately 80%. The pool is gone. The building is gone. Materials are being done, removed on site. There is still the requirement on this project to do backfill and also meet 95% compaction in that location. So that project still needs to be done. At the community center, just to the east of the ball field, the service area there, we had to put a haul road in just so that we could get the end dumps in. There was just no way we could not get equipment back to the demo site without creating some sort of a haul road. So Todd has worked with the contractor on accommodating that, and that road, we will probably leave it in existence. This would be on the east side of the mulberry trees that are outlining right field and center field. You can see some of the pictures here. You can see the haul road we created. As you can see, the picture here, which was part of the first part of the demo, and then you can see where we've gotten. They're moving quickly along here. This site's very interesting because we also had two what I want to call, like, not septic, but they were more vault-like type of areas in which at one time where the pool was designed years ago, it would take water, drain into these vault areas. And those all had to be slurried as well. Similar to a cesspool, and if you've ever seen how a cesspool is designed, it's done usually like with bricks and layers, and then it has an actual way for it to seep. And so these water would fill in this. So really, really, back in the day, it was probably state of the art, but so those were removed and will be slurried as part of this project. The event center pole barns, as Patty indicated a little bit earlier, we are moving right down the line. We'll be awarding demo of the particular project. Our subcommittee on this, which both Corinne and Jason sit on, have done a lot of work. I mean, they've done everything down to where the pins would go in there, the different type of events that would be ran in and out of there. We've looked at everything from a snack bar to restrooms, storage. Lighting is the big issue now, and electrical. So we believe that the switchgear can be satisfy our needs for at least right now. And the Edison transformer, we're going to evaluate that over the next year after construction and determine if we need to do any upgrades there. We'll be re-meeting with our group Wednesday for an update, and then our electrical engineer will be presenting to them some of the drawings and specs that he's looked at, from everything from indoor lighting to outdoor lighting. And so we're going to be moving this project down. We plan on demo should start in April, and we should probably be out with RFPs in April as well. Nellie Weaver Hall improvements. This is part of the project discussion we talked about, which includes replacement of the stage door, the electrical pedestals, the parking lot drainage. We believe, based on what we have to do there, we're going to have to create a bioswale in the parking lot there as well. And insulation, we're going to be evaluating the insulation Title 24 regs. As you know, we just redid all the air conditioning. And so to try to keep them being able to be sustainable over a period of time, we need to really look at the insulation that's on the inside. We just recently had the roof redone there. So one of the nice things, it doesn't leak anymore. So it doesn't leak. We have new AC. So some of the improvements we are doing there will help us in that facility being more efficient. Marina Arena Sound, again, they are doing an RP and qualification request, and then the subcommittee will work with that particular consultant on design. This will be a design build type project to meet our particular needs for the PA system. That PA system is 20 years old. Some of the equipment has even though it works, it doesn't work as effective and as efficient as it should. Based on today's technology, we can get a lot more out of it. Ingalls and Marine Arena has always been a complex facility for sound. And a lot of people don't realize that when we first did Marino Arena and we did the sound, that's not the existing sound system that was in there. There was a different sound system. And a lot of people don't realize that. We put a whole sound system in. The problem we had is sound travels. And if you are not used to that delay when you are on a PA system and know how to talk on a PA with delay, it will throw you way off. A lot of our clubs had a real challenge with that. A professional announcer usually has no problem with that. In our sound booth, if you look in the sound booth, you'll notice speakers in the sound booth. Those are monitors. The reason for the monitors is so you can hear that playback. The second part we did is we added headsets, headphone earplugs, so then when we mic somebody up, if they were in the arena, they can also hear themselves. So that's done through our wireless system, but it's a real challenge on sound. And so we changed that system and went with more of this centerpiece type system. The problem with that system is we don't always reach everywhere where we need to be. So if you were to take a look at that, which was done 20 years ago, to Clark where it is today, where we have sound in various zones, we can actually, by a computer, adjust sound in those locations. We can move sound in one location, not in another. It has a lot more capabilities to meet the needs of what we want to be able to accomplish. Again, sound is an interesting one, and as I told staff, if we were having a major concert, we would not use our sound system still. A major concert promoter brings his own stuff in and uses it. We need to be able to take care of certain events and activities. Even a lot of our rodeos, they bring their own sound. They don't want to use it because they hire a sound person as part of that promotion. So what we need to do is meet our overall basic needs and go from there. Ball field sports lighting replacement community center fields. This project's been going back and forth, and as of today, we will start this project a week from Friday. Is that correct, Todd? Okay. Yeah. So the permits have gone through. They were approved. Project will be moving forward, so it's gone through plan check. And we are now ready to install those poles, which we've had on the ground. We also have all of the fixtures, so we hope as we start to open up fields for play, so probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we will have lights on those fields, which will make all of the sports groups happy. I went the wrong way. AC unit swamp cooler project. We opened bids on March 3rd. They are under review right now, and we are going through the various bids and identifying those associated costs and line items with this particular project. Once we've gone through that process, it'll be put on the City Council agenda for review and approval. ADA assessment citywide. This project has been we've been out our consulting team has been out and assessed. We're at about 30% done in assessments. We will be scheduling an update for the commission, and we will be bringing that information back to you. And then eventually we will be bringing the whole program back to you, and we will have a public meeting for discussion. I'd like to kind of do that when we can really reopen and people can come. So, but until then, our consultant continues to do his survey and analysis, and he's been through just about every building in the city and almost all the parks so far. There's still some touch-up he needs to do. We are also, as we're doing our projects now, we're sending those to our consultant so he gets a chance to look at it to make sure that we're meeting whatever is required under the Americans with Disabilities Act. The ultimate goal would be somewhere in June, we would be conducting a public hearing. This would be adopted by the City Council, and this would lead to a long-term capital improvement. That's called the transition plan. So we would be moving from the actual assessment and then having a transition plan, which we would be adding money into capital improvements through Measure R, identifying specific projects to meet the accessibility needs and requirements. City Hall Sheriff Station, we've completed phase 1, which is our security system and intrusion areas, which also includes the Sheriff Station. 95% of that project is completed. We have a little bit of coordination with phase 2. In our sheriff's area, we had a couple little problems. One we have a room for the equipment that actually, where the servers are. We found that the room gets actually too hot because of all of the equipment that is now in there. So we had to add an AC unit in that location. And so that has been done this week and will be finalized up by the end of next week. The additional part of this particular project is we have interview rooms that need some additional technology put in those. This is for the sheriffs when they do their interviews. So we're adjusting some of the cameras that we currently have in those rooms to meet the needs what the sheriff wants. The second part of this is this phase program is that we are actually looking at our counters for that potential intrusion and barriers. And so we've worked with a committee from the City Hall to get to kind of a place in mind of how to restrict. When COVID hit, it kind of did it for us because we only have one entry point. Well, right now we have no, because we don't allow the public in unless it's under appointment or special situations. However, what we will do in the future is we allow them in. There'll be one way in, and you will survey and then exit out. Similar to how we did it during the beginning of COVID, but there are a couple different areas of counters and that our architect is working on design features, which looks at everything from ballistics to the prevention of intrusion and through barriers. And again, that's phase 2. Our roof project is complete. We finalized that, and we are now, and Robin, I believe that's the balance left, is that correct? Oh, that would, okay, so in other words, we started this project at the beginning of fiscal year, prior to last fiscal year. That was the balance that was left till we accepted the project. So the project is actually just over $800,000 total. Santa Ana River Trail and Causeway, as you know, we are pushing this project out as a result of the bridge. I do want to work with Commission, though, to talk about design on this. There's a particular ATP grant coming out that I think we may need to add request funding for, so I'd like to work with the subcommittee on this, where we can then actually probably pre-fund part of this design phase of this, because the objective will be to bring it from the bridge down Old Hamner, connecting into at Alhambra, and then eventually connecting into the park and down to Cedar. So that phase needs to still be completed by us. Let me just go back real quick. Included in this, and we are at about, we're actually probably a little bit further, we're about at 30-35% on drawings. The issue in the Causeway is that as we go through the Causeway and we segue into the JCSD park, we're going to have to work on an agreement with them for that point in connection. So that's with the subcommittee, we had looked at the accessible path there for both bicycle and people to walk, as well as we had actually a handicap ramp also designed in that. And then the trail would actually, horse trail will actually go to the south, and then to where it starts to, the grade changes, and we would access into the JCSD property from there. So we still have some work to be done on that, and obviously a lot of the work here and the widening of Hamner and spots from Citrus to the bridge all still needs to happen, which is projected to be done through 2023. And then parking lot, Scout House, Riley Gym. This project is out to bid, and we have a bid opening on March 24th. Playground replacement project, this is the one that Todd talked about earlier, that you reviewed and approved. This is just the outlining of the budget that we set up originally for this particular project. Senior Center termite mitigation and repair project. This is a new project we added, took to Measure R. The Senior Center has some real issues related to subterranean termites and dry wood termites, where we actually have some structural beams that have been impacted and on the exterior of the building. Todd met with Plum Engineering today for us to look at that particular project and design. Once we have that completed, that'll go into plan check for review, and then we'll put this out to bid. This is the estimated construction cost to make those repairs for the termites that are that are right now impacting the Senior Center. A lot of our fascia, some of the decorative locations, as well as some of the structural beams. This just gives you a nice idea of locations in which we found impacts to the termites at all of these various locations throughout here. And again, this is the front of the Senior Center, so you can actually see where some of our beams have been impacted here. This just gives you a little bit of more of an idea of what you can see, particularly here and here. You can see where you have the trim and fascia in here, but you can see in here where you could actually take a screwdriver and push it through this particular beam here. One of the programs we're going to be looking at going into next fiscal year is a termite program. Termites are one of those things, when you didn't have money, it was always, let's push it out until you have to really deal with it. So now that we have Measure R, we have the ability to take a look at this. Really, inspections for buildings that have a lot of stick and stucco, as I call it, should be inspected every 2 years. So we'll be going to a program, and then we have Station 47. We have a couple other facilities that fall into the same category. And if you don't take care of it, then it will cost you a lot more money in the long run. That's our update for capital projects. And as you can see, it takes quite a bit to get to a project to a point where then you can bid it. Our projects are much different than Public Works, in the sense that Public Works, when you look at streets and even some of the what I call bridle trails that run along our streets, their standards are already set. So when you have public facilities and other facilities that you are trying to deal with, and you're dealing with the community, there's a lot more interaction and a lot more engagement involved, where a standard, you can have the engineer design it, you go out to bid. Sometimes we need a lot more feedback because we actually have a lot more engagement with the public and then how they use that facility. The other part of that is that when we do a project, there's a little bit more, especially with the infrastructure that is old. It's a lot different versus just tearing something out and building something new. So when I look at this overall process, and one of the discussions I had with staff today, as we start the new fiscal year, we're going to take a little different process. We're going to sit down with the commission in a workshop, and we're going to talk about capital budget overall. One of the things that I think we really need to do is look at the long-term process. And then in there'll be different milestones that we need to look at. Some of you may have not seen it before. I know Corinne was part of it when we did our 25-year capital improvement program as part of the infrastructure committee that was set up early on. That ad hoc committee took a look at infrastructure overall in the city. And so I think what we need to do is revise that particular infrastructure document, but we really need to look at some of our other particular projects. Some of the issues that we've talked about is one of the problems that we have is when we look at a project, let's just go take care of something or build something, but we're not really looking at function, we're not looking at use, and we really need to start to take a look at what do we really want the next 20 years to look like. A good example is we've heard a lot about Neil Snipes Park. Let's do some things there. Well, we can go ahead and just slap some new equipment in. We could do a new trail, but let's look at Neil Snipes of what we want it to be in the community. How do we want it to work? I have some residents who have said, we love to walk at night and we love going up to Pikes Peak, but we live on this side of town, so and we have a walking trail there, but we have no lights. And that particular trail actually is really in disrepair. It's not in good shape. So what could we do? Could we do exercise equipment? There's I don't know if you've never walked that trail, there's an old park course, and a park course are different stations in which you can do exercises. The new stuff that is out is really actually very functional. So if we create the space there that really meets the community's needs, it also, I believe, attracts if I was staying in the hotel and I'm here on business, I can use the park for exercise. I could use the park to go out if I bring my dog to walk it or whatever. But also some of the questions that come up for the commission in discussion is a skate park. Do we look at a skate park now and in the future? There's pros and cons to that. Do we look at a splash pad versus a swimming pool? So these are things that we wish to have discussions with you. How many splash pads do we need in the city? Do we need one on one side of the town and one on another side of the town? Another one is that we started a master plan program at Wayne Macon. We actually are probably 50% in working drawings there, but we never had the funding. Jason was part of that process. Maybe now's the time to really say, hey, let's start looking at moving that forward, even if we're going to phase it in, because some of these projects, you're not talking a few $100,000, but you're building to the future. And you're trying to create that sustainable community that everyone enjoys. So if we can do that, 2 projects, the trail one we talked about here, but I think, and JT and I have had this discussion when Hank was here, is to look at the trail that leads up to Pumpkin Rock. One of the problems with the trail to Pumpkin Rock is that it is a native trail, which means that it's a rural trail. It has no real rhyme. You use existing trails, or as when I was walking those trails with JT one early morning on a Friday with Hank, we have a lot of animal trails, and you can see where the coyotes have created their own path. But really taking a look, that trail is a heavily used. It has become an icon in Southern California, and maybe creating a trail that has some switchbacks so that you have a safer path of travel for people to do it and be done right. So there is some issues related to that because that's an environmental or conservation area. If we use existing trails, that's fine. But I think the commission needs to explore how do you get people from A to B and do it in a safe way. Otherwise, we shouldn't be promoting a trail that way. Because what's happened is in that trail it's not as accessible as it used to be. It's gotten very slippery in some spots and things like that. So I think it's time for us to really talk about that and look at it. Let's look at our park system. Let's make some priorities and really think about the future, even if we're going to be phasing that in over the next 15 to 20 years. So for the first time, you have some funding. There are some grant funds out there right now. I just met with a grant consultant on a couple opportunities. One of the ones that we'll be looking at is Land Water Conservation Fund. There's a couple other ones. There's a Smart Irrigation Program grant. One of the things that Todd has looked at and sat down with me is infrastructurally, our irrigation system is old. Our smart irrigation system that we have, which is old, which was at the time was great, but it's 20 years old. And the technology is now, we still have phone technology and to those. And so I think, so we need to have that discussion as a big whole, because I think it's really important for us to prioritize our capital side. And then look at how we do it. We may, the best way to eat the elephant is a bite at a time. So I think that's something for us to work with, and that's I want to do it in a workshop format so that commissioning and staff can feel comfortable talking about some of our concerns and issues, hear about what you hear from the public, and then kind of lead down that path so that we can come up with a blueprint to the future for our capital programs. And that's all I have.
Brian, first of all, very appreciative of hearing that you were planning on this workshop, because it was one of my items for general discussion at the end of the meeting, because I know budgeting is coming up, and I did not know if we were going to be included in any discussions on what you might be thinking of for next year. On the actual infrastructure report that you have here for Measure R, I did have a question, at least it's been asked to me, on the trail fencing that's going to go through Snipes Park. Do we have any idea on timing on that? I know that they've finished a lot of the others, but they haven't. I know that's going to be a major undertaking.
Yeah, I don't know, Todd, if you have heard anything from Chad, but I don't have an actual time. I'll follow up and I'll get back to you guys.
Okay, and then
my understanding of their goal is by the end of June to be done with all of those trail projects, so we'll see.
Okay, and then the other thing also related to trails and what you discussed here was the Santa Ana River Causeway, and I'm not sure if you're talking about on that, if it's this side of the freeway or east of the freeway, or the whole system?
I was talking about both. I was talking about this side of the freeway, the south side, which we need to connect the trail. The project from the bridge will take the trail. There's a little spot right before where the trail, well, that'll be in an improved part of the trail. It'll stop. We have to pick it up from there, take it to Old Hamner, take it down Old Hamner, and then connect up into Alhambra and then through the park. That we need to continue to work on that. The Causeway is really within Silver Lakes, and that's the connector over to the JCSD.
Okay,
property.
Because at one of the last council meetings, it was discussed, and I applaud you for your recommendation to the council, although something happened and I couldn't quite hear what the final result on that discussion was, where you had, they wanted kind of an ad hoc committee together of Public Works, or Streets, Trails, and Utilities, Parks and Recreation, and Council.
Yeah, that trail is related to River Drive. So, and my concern on that, first of all, I think it's a great idea to get together and create an ad hoc committee to talk about it. But I believe we should engage, the Parks and Recreation should have its subcommittee engaged in with that, because that's a specific connector to the River Trails Park area. So when we look at that, we should also look at egress, ingress, which trail openings or trail heads need to be looked at. And then that is a Class C bicycle trail. And as you all know, it chokes down in that one part, and you really don't have great access there. How do we look at that? So I think a meeting looking at that very holistically is engaging two people from Streets and Trails, two from the Parks and Recreation Commission and City Council, I think makes total sense.
Okay, I guess that was all I had on this infrastructure project. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I just like to say that, you know, a lot of the stuff we are at right now, just to give some more kudos to Corinne over there. She was one of the people early on championing some of these projects where we are now, in particular us having the ability to have a funding source through Measure R to do. And so now we're able to actually do some maintenance and infrastructure repairs that and not just repairs, actually reconstruction, because that's how bad it was. So for a long time, we kicked the can down the road, and now it's nice to be able to see us being able to do some of these projects. So thank you, Corinne.
Yeah. And I was going to say thank you for the update. And we're getting to the point now where I know when things first started getting worked on and the general public is not excited about roofing and air conditioning, but we are getting to those points now where people really are going to be able to see what this money is being used for and how it, you know, appreciate having facilities that are working better. And oh, it does have air conditioning, and I didn't get kicked out this week because of rain and leakage issues. So as the public comes back into these facilities, and as we've seen, like George Ingalls, the projects that have been able to get done, having no public there and having it not open is just basically a little astounding. You just, you know, there's so many things you can't get done when there are so many people there and people you driving through and horses there and that kind of thing. So I think the public is going to start to be able to see a lot of projects getting done now that are very visual and easy to be able to put up that Measure R sign and then go, oh, that was amazing. You know, maybe I'm glad I'm having that extra penny go to that project. So it is good to see a lot of these projects starting to come to fruition that are a little easier to see. But thank you for the update.
I got one question for Todd, actually. So the ball fields, this is those wood poles that fell down for the lighting you're doing at Community in Clark?
Yeah, so
the ones that have taken forever to come back out of Oregon.
I'm pushing a year.
Yeah. All right.
Unfortunately.
Because I'm just looking at youth sports with them trying to reopen. I know Norco Little League's trying to do April 15th, I think, and I think softball was on the 8th of April. They're trying to open up by. So I know that's quite urgent for them.
Oh, 100%. everything's in place. He wanted to try to do it last Friday, but it didn't work out. But he has cancellations, the contractor, so stuff will fall through. When I said my fingers crossed, like if we do get some rain, because I do have to get heavier trucks out into the fields. So, you know, we have the water off now, but if I get 2 inches of rain between now and Friday, it kind of pushes it out, and then I fall back into there. We're both trying to get it done real quick, but I mean, tentatively, Friday was the date that was discussed last Friday. So yeah, we're pushing. I don't want the poles to go away. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Everything's there. So we'll get them in as quick as we can.
All right. Sure. That was the only question I had.
All right. Item 6, number B, COVID update, return to pay and play. Brian?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to have Alejandra do the first one, and then Patty's going to give you an update after that, and then we'll do questions.
Thank you. So last Thursday, staff met with the private youth sports groups to address some of the changes that have been provided by the state to their youth and adult sports guidelines. So we put together this PowerPoint to discuss those changes with the private youth sports groups and kind of aid them through the process as they begin to prepare their return to play, return to competition plans. So the updated state guidelines indicate that that high contact sports can begin in counties with an adjusted case rate equal to or less than 14 cases per 100,000 residents. So I know the numbers are perhaps a little lower, but as of now, the Riverside County Public Health website indicates that Riverside County is at 11.3 cases per 100 residents. So that makes us in the purple tier eligible based on these guidelines to continue some of the moderate and high contact sports. So some of those conditions, however, include informed consent due to the nature and the risk of transmission while participating in outdoor high contact and moderate contact sports. The guidelines indicate that risk must be provided to all parents and guardians of minors participating in such sports, and then each parent and guardian must sign an informed risk consent indicating they understand and acknowledge those risks prior to having the participants play. We put together a sample waiver for the participants. So this is actually a waiver that the city uses and is going to be using for our own sports camps. And this waiver was approved by PERMA and legal, and it's the informed consent that parents need to sign off on. And we provide it to the organization so that they can use it as a reference, but we did recommend that should they plan on using it, of course they'll have to modify it to fit their needs, and then we recommended that they go ahead and provide that to their own organization's legal and risk management to ensure that it's approved on their end as well. Another condition that is in the updated guidelines is testing. So regular testing of sports participants and coaches weekly while participating in outdoor high contact sports is strongly encouraged based on the state guidelines. And if competing testing performed with test results must be made available within 24 hours of play. So the testing requirement applies to the following situations: football, rugby, water polo. These are high contact sports that are likely to be played unmasked and have close face-to-face contact for a period longer than 15 minutes at a time. So this means that testing would apply. However, if participants in any of the teams are age 13 or younger, if the majority of the team is age 13 or younger, then testing does not apply to them. It does, however, apply to coaches. And it's 50% of the team's participants must be 13 or younger. So some of the general health and safety protocols that were outlined in the new guidelines indicate that no player, parent, coach, or official can enter a facility if they have tested positive or if they are awaiting a test result. Anyone with the following symptoms that we're all aware of and often have posted at our city facilities cannot enter any of the facilities. And before entering and leaving, proper sanitation and hygiene recommendations relating to hand washing or hand sanitizing are encouraged. For spectators entering the facility, they must wear a face mask at all times. The exception would be children under the age of 2. Spectators must remain in the car until 15 minutes before each game. And spectators must wear masks on the sidelines at all times. There's no exceptions. Spectators must practice social distancing between families not of the same household, and no gathering in the parking lot after in the parking lot or on the sidelines, and face masks must be worn covering the nose, chin, and mouth. For players, the recommendation is that players must wear masks as they enter and exit the facilities. They must also wear them during practice, conditioning, and during competition, even during heavy exertion as tolerated. Each team is to have designated areas on the sidelines, and they're the only ones allowed in that area. Players must wear their mask at all times during the game, including while they're on the sidelines. They're expected to socially distance on the sidelines, refrain from handshakes at the conclusion of games, and they're required to bring their own hydration, bring their own items to limit the sharing of personal items and equipment, and they must wear masks as they exit the field and board their vehicles. For coaches, face masks are also required as they enter and exit the facility. They must comply with the testing requirement if it applies to them if they're one of those high contact sports. Coaches have to stay within their designated sideline areas, and they're to keep the mask on during the game and to maintain 6 feet of distance from other coaches and participants to the maximum extent possible. They are also to release players at the conclusion of every game so they can head directly to their vehicles. For referees and umpires, they will have a designated area at each field. Referees and umpires must wear their mask as they enter and exit the facility until the start of game. For football and soccer, they will not do a coin toss and home team picks their side. Visitor gets kickoff. Referees and umpires will remain socially distant to the best of their abilities during games, and they must also wear their mask as they exit the fields. So all equipment must be sanitized before the game starts and after gameplay concludes. Anyone not in compliance with these protocols may be instructed by the city or by the organization representatives to comply with all the safety protocols, and failure to do so may result in them being directed to leave the facility. The requirements for return to play for our private youth sports group here in the city of Norco would be their executed facilities and concession agreement, their executed use of city Norco facilities permit, their insurance must be on file. We must have their approval checklist indicating their site map and indicating how they plan to abide by all of these guidances. They must also have a signed waiver, and we also put together a new form to help aid them and kind of have them acknowledge their responsibility. It's a protocol form that's actually in the works and will be provided to all of the organizations. And it indicates here what's needed, and it kind of goes through everything that's in the guidelines and asks them to initial off for their understanding. So this was put together to present to the organizations. It was shared with them as well, so they can present to their board, they can present to their participants just as needed, and kind of aid them as they prepare their return to play plans and as they get ready to submit those to the city for review and approval.
Just to note for the group, Michelle and Alejandra and Jamie Carper have all put a lot of time in to try and keep us active, and our youth sports groups have just been sitting in the back, and it's really exciting when we had our meeting last week to see them engage and ready to go. Although then they realize now the time is here, they got some work to do on their own to get ready for everything, but it's good to see that they're getting excited about doing this, and hopefully these protocols are in place to do this. Countywide, we're in the purple tier. The numbers are moving and adjusting. I do see us probably reaching the red tier maybe in the next few weeks, and if so, then there will be some more adjustments and modifications made. But it is moving in the right direction. If you recall, this last year we moved from the purple tier to the red tier for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then after that we were back in stay-at-home orders. So we've seen it fluctuate a little bit, but it does open up opportunities. The state is also looking at amendments or what we call variances to the guidelines to allow certain other activities and gatherings, but gatherings are not allowed until yellow tier. So your big events and activities where people gather, that's only in yellow tier. And the challenge right now is they're looking at doing that, but under moderation, meaning 25%, 50% capacity, those type of things. So we'll know more as we move from this purple tier to red tier.
Okay, so I hate to play devil's advocate. I can see you guys put a lot of work into it, and I appreciate this. And this goes for both the sport fields and for George Ingalls, is when it comes to compliance, who is going to be policing this and making, I hate to ask, but how are we going to make sure that these things are going to be, followed up and in place? I can see even at, Riley Gym, Jamie having to go out and talk to coaches or talk to parents. That's a very small space. Trying to do that at Wayne Macon and talking to the board members that are generally out on the field, having to go and confront parents. And it's a very touchy subject. And hopefully we can make it something that keeping the parents in line to keep their kids playing is a positive thing. But we've all seen it, and there's going to be somebody out there that's going to be a problem child. And I'm just wondering if you've thought about how you guys are going to handle that.
Well,
so
in the case of the permit process, to answer that, in the case of the permit process, the youth sports groups will handle it, and they were very firm within their meetings that it could mean that you may not be playing. And so, but they will have to enforce that. The city's not going to play policemen. In regards to our programs and activities, and if we have a show, the permit holder will be responsible for holding their participants accountable, or they'll lose their permit.
And I think all of the organizations were really excited to hear that there's the possibility that they can return, and they all understand that and they were all very asking questions and wanting clarification, because I think they understand that it's important for them to follow these guidelines, not to jeopardize, having their organization out there on the field. And I think all of our organization representatives are very committed, and I don't see any of them allowing one individual to jeopardize, their entire organization and their permit to use our facilities.
One of the things they've all had a year to really digest this, so they had some really creative ways of making sure they maintain social distancing. Little League and girls softball are not going to allow anybody to sit in the grandstands, so they have figured out to put feathers on the fence. These are your different locations in which you can sit in a chair, and if you're in your little family area, you're great, and if not, you move to the next one. And eventually, these sports that are being allowed are in the orange tier. So they're allowed, based on this 14 per 100,000 or less, to be able to move into the purple tier. So that in itself is a plus, because if not, we would be still waiting. So I think they're looking at this as this is a good opportunity to show that we can do it. It's a good opportunity. I think most of them was, this is a good opportunity to say, Mr. Governor, you should have let us start this a long time ago, because we could have and successfully managed it. That's sort of the gut feeling I got from the Youth Sports Council. So, and I think Patty's been working with our local clubs. They have the same, I want to say, positive attitude. I think we can get this working, and Patty will give you a share of the plan. And obviously, we're going to work with these groups to make sure that it works for them, but a lot of it's going to be self-policing, and that's all we can do. We're not. Alejandra's not going to go out there with a citation book, although she really wanted to know.
And just as an example, I know, for example, Norco Girls Softball, when they were doing their camps before we went back to the stay-at-home order and before we shut down, they actually had a board member out there every single time who was responsible for, like, walking back and forth and monitoring the field and making sure people were following the protocol. So they've really taken it seriously. It's not something that they're, just put together just to turn in and say we checked off this box. From what I've heard and from what they've shared, they really are putting a lot of effort into making sure that they're following all of the proper guidelines and ultimately ensuring that they're providing a safe environment.
The other item too, and I think this requirement of the consent form is a state requirement. So when you as a parent, you're agreeing to this, otherwise don't play. And that's basically the scenario here. So, each group will create their own based on the consent, but every parent has to sign to a consent to allow their child to play.
Is there...
This is a receive and file. It's just for information to let you know that we are moving forward and we're excited about it. The groups that we are working with in the community are excited about it. And it's going to be a work in progress, because it's going to change again in 2 weeks, because I can't tell you how many times indoor sports are still not allowed right now. But then we just got a message the other day, and I could sworn it said we could. Then when we got clarification, you can. And so we're going through this sort of a process overall, but it's a positive, not only in our community, but the communities around us as well.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. With that, we'll go to item 7.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
You're still there, Patty.
You're still good. You're still good.
Are you ready?
He's got to switch out the slide.
Well, it looks like we've got some good news coming. With the good news about the state issuing the new sports guidance, allowing certain moderate and high contact sports, this also includes some equestrian events. So that is very good news. I won't go through pretty much all the health guidelines. Social distancing is the same. I want to highlight what affects the event center. And if you have any questions on that. Besides the regular social distancing, certain things that just affect the event center or individuals is they're not to touch or handle any animals that don't belong to them or their responsibility. Oh, thank you. A different one. There you go. Okay, so the updated guidelines are the same, and like I said, we'll go to the next slide and just discuss what affects the event center. So no organization, participant, or staff can enter the facility if tested positive or waiting for a test result or have any symptoms. That's standard. Before entering or leaving the facility, proper hygiene, recommendations relating to hand washing. Face coverings are required at all times, but are not required when performing in the arena. When they exit the arena, they need to put the mask back on. A lot of the issue has been addressed about safety. They're watching, they're trying to perform, and the mask shifts. So we're erring on the side of caution and safety for that. No gatherings are allowed at this tier. Like I stated, avoid touching any animals that doesn't belong to you, not your responsibility, and no sharing of any equipment. General health and safety guidelines, event organization or organizer or club will be asked to post on their website guidelines and event requirements to include 6 foot social distancing spacing while they're on horseback. Typically, you're already 6 foot. We're just trying to encourage and remind them that they need to adhere to the guideline. Event organizers and participants will follow a 10-foot distance between any horse trailers, RVs, campers, or placement of dog crates or equipment. Event organizers is recommended to use remote online registration, of course payment, and encourage contactless payment system. We also have 2 contractors which are currently working with apps to do their registration. Again, all visitors entering the facility, any facility, they must have a mask. Children under the age of 2 and performing in the arena are the only exceptions. Participants that are performing, or anybody in their pod, they must stay at their own trailer or designated staging area until participant's name is called to enter the arena. So we're going to really strictly enforce this. Signs will be posted. There'll be a staging area. Anybody comes in with the trailer, they need to stay at their trailer. When their number is called, their name is called, they can come to the arena, perform, exit, and go right back. Everyone needs to practice social distancing, no gathering in parking lots, facility grounds, restrooms, any area. Right outside the arena, everybody wants to give each other a high five. They just got to give a high five from a distance. The local shows, barrel racers, dog shows, will do anything, follow every rule, just to start and open. They just want to get this opened. Now, I know that a lot of them are performing or having their events at private facilities. They miss George Ingalls, they miss the cover, they miss the customer service, and they're willing to do anything. So 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I got a lot of resistance when we thought we were going to open and things like that. Now they're just saying, we will do and we will follow and we'll monitor. If anyone, everything will be posted, their application will state it. If anybody is in violation, they will be asked to leave. If it happens again, they'll be removed from the club. So they're very, very serious about that. Event guidelines. I mentioned all guidelines will be followed. CDC recommend guidelines. Restrooms will be open during the event and clean hourly. Staff will post signs, delineate facilities, and communicate to the promoter the path of travel. So depending what facility you enter, there'll be designated signs where they need to park, where they will be entering the arena, where they exit. And so we've got most of those signs already made because we thought we were going to open. Again, we'll remind them about parking their horse trailers, RV campers, and they must maintain the 10-foot distance. We are asking them to post all the guidelines on their website and any other communication, post signs at sign-in on their apps, anything they can put out there. They've already placed phone calls. I've been getting phone calls about what else do we need to do? Is it just social distancing? What do we need to do? So they're ready to go. The waiver that has been approved by PERMA, we will use. Brian and I were talking about this, that we want to incorporate this portion of the waiver and the writer's waiver, so they don't have to sign two. So it might be a 2-page, but right now we're looking at this particular waiver to deal with COVID, and then they have their event waiver to cover for a typical event. Let's talk about the site map. For most local shows are at Clark Arena. So what they'll do is, if I can do this right, the one I pushed. There it is. No? There we go. Okay. So they will enter off 6th Street, Crestview, and they'll go into gate 7, enter, there'll be signage posted, and these little icons, like we have fencing barricades, so this particular event cannot move any further into the north end of the complex. This is social distancing, reminding them social distancing and all these locations, and what we're looking at is when they enter, there's parking here, parking here. There is, most of the groups have their little equipment trailers, and we get like 3 or 4 people there. They have to be reminded they've got to be social distance. And then we have some folks that might hang here, so we're going to block this off and remind them. And then this is the restroom area, social distancing, and we have some portable hand sanitizer stations. So that's what these are. We will have these positioned, and there are some wall units in the restrooms. So, and just signage everywhere that shows them mask, wash your hands, social distance. So basically they'll come in here, come out there, and once they're done, most of them will park on this side. Once they're done with their run, they come back out and exit. So this is pretty much, and then it says up here, 4 maximum in the arena. Typically you have 1 or 2. You might have a judge, and but most of the score, they'll be outside, and they're going to work with that. They're going to see about that. So if they need another one in there, we're going to look at that, maybe post them at the other area. Permanent restroom will be available and clean hourly, guidelines, distance between trailers, and no gatherings. So the next one is the Merino Arena. We're looking at barrels, and when I say barrels, we got Jerry Lundy barrels weekly Thursdays, working with him now on agreements and what we can do, how we can maintain it, how can we enforce compliance and things like that. He's assured me that they will take care of everything, okay? So again, he is one of the contractors that is working with an app to get everybody registered and and also will have disseminate the information regarding guidelines and all our rules. And they will be reminded at the gate. If they don't follow all the rules, they'll be asked to leave. There is no second chance. If somebody drops a mask and puts it back on, we don't have a problem with that. But this is serious, and they need to comply. Again, that I expect, Jerry and I have a little difference of opinion. He doesn't believe he'll have very many the first time. I believe we'll have everybody there, because it's an opening in the evening and time is changing. So he's got some people that are going to monitor it, and we're going to monitor it as well, at least for a couple times. So actually it'll be weekly. So the way they're going to, the way they'll enter is they'll come up 6th Street, enter gate 1, typical show, park here. If there is, right now we're looking at single events happening, at least through the month of April. No double shows. And one of the reasons is they're taking their time to get back into the groove as well. So they'll park here, they may park here. Again, we'll have the social distancing, all the signs, all the hand washing stations, and depending on the show, some enter from this way, will go in, may turn around, come back out, depending on the pattern. Some will enter from this side. So we're just going to flip the signs depending on what it is. Is it Pacific Coast Miniature, or is it, because Pacific Coast Miniatures sometimes prefer this arena. But Barrels, they've already worked with me that what they'll do is they'll split their group up, AM and PM. They've already been assigned. Some bring 3 or 4 horses. They'll stay at their trailer. Everybody stays at their trailer till their name or number is called. Out they come, run. If that is their final run, they get in the trailer and they leave. Oh, I'm so sorry. Open writing's been open since February, I think late February. And it's done very well. It started out really slow. Joy, 1 rider. And, you know, I was a little disappointed. I thought everybody'd come out. And then for about 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden we got 2 riders. 3, and so we have trailer in, and then I've only had to ask 1 person leave because they refused to wear the mask, and I believe I saw her a couple weeks later, and she had her mask on because she wanted to use the arena. So we now have 4 to 5 riders. So if there's more than 3 to 4, they wait outside. The others do their ride, and they take turns. So, but it's usually, because we're open from 10 to 3, there's a big time, you know, somebody's there for an hour, they trailer, and they're out. And then somebody else comes in. Have not had 1 problem with it since, you know, except for the one that she rode in and didn't want to wear a mask. We have extra masks at the table. We have the guidelines on a clipboard. So if they have any questions or concerns or didn't understand, we hand them out. They all comply and just are happy that it's open.
Questions from the commission?
Thank you, Patty.
You're welcome. You want to know some dates that we proposed for the event?
Absolutely.
We're looking at Jerry Lundy starting March 25th, if we can work out all the guidelines with him. But we're good to go. Wranglers will be April 3rd, and Majeska Mavericks would be April 10th. And then May is a busy month, and we'll have to look at that. One thing I did notice when I read the guidelines is I was hoping we could maybe introduce World Series in May. They're not allowing anybody to cross. It's got to be within the county. Nobody can cross state lines, and most of my World Series are crossing straight line. So we may have to bypass that one until we get to another tier. They're team roping. Mm-hmm. It's in not crossing state line. They can't. They have to be within the county, pretty much. And most of the local clubs and things are within the county. It's the.
Why we remain in the purple tier?
Yes.
Right.
If we move into red tier, that may open up a little bit, but the idea is that if you're in the same county, we're dealing with our numbers that are 14 per 100,000 versus San Bernardino County or some other county that may not even be qualified, but they're coming back
Moving around.
forth. Yeah.
No, my question was, I had understood that for events at Ingalls, it was single person. So Barrels could do theirs. Like Wranglers, they're running a single person versus team roping is 2.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So it's pairs, and I thought it had to be single riders.
Well, with the guideline that talks about
Sort of 6
high
feet
contact
apart.
sports, you don't want them to make contact, but typically the team roper,
And
they're about
ropers
6 feet
don't.
away. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not, I mean, but again, I can't allow that event anyway because they're crossing state lines.
Right. But if some local group wanted to do team roping or team
take a look
sorting,
at it, absolutely.
then that would be okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
In that case, I think it would be okay, based on the guidelines that is presented to us at this point in time.
Not that close.
But, so we'll see, and I feel pretty confident things are going to start to move up. You know, one of the things they did with this last order and at the end of February is they moved the equestrian stuff to purple tier. It wasn't in purple tier before. So they moved it up. I think finally someone realized, well, I think there's not as much of a potential impact here if these events have already kind of social distancing already built in. So anyway, so purple tier was moved up to equestrian events and rodeo events were moved up. Now, the difference would be like your rough stock events where you were riding bulls or something. That's not allowed because you have close contact behind the pins. So anything that would be where you would have distance or separation then would be allowed from a rodeo event. So, so it's a start. So.
It's a great start. Now, I just don't want anything to happen that we go back. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So now we'll move on to item 7, staff and commission comments. And we'll start over here. Robin, you have anything? Brian?
No, again, echo what Robin's saying for Corinne. We're going to miss her. And looking forward to the rest of this year now that things are starting to open up a little bit for us in the county.
Patty, anything more to add?
I heard she's coming back to do casino night, so.
Alejandro? Alejandra. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
No worries, with an A at the end. But no, I don't have anything else other than it was a pleasure.
Mr. Sparks? Mr. Shank?
I'll make it quick. I've been here a year, and I still feel brand new with all this. I don't know. Yeah, it'll be exciting. I'm excited about it. Just there's a lot of learning still to be done. But thank you. Good luck.
Bill?
Yeah, I have 2 items. One, Brian, a number of months ago, it was indicated that you were going to have a survey done of Community Center Park for looking at possible encroachments by the neighbors. I knew you had budgeted for it this year. How are we standing on that? Yeah, it's just that it keeps delaying, and I just would like to see it get done, especially since it was budgeted for. The last item that I had was just prior to coming to the meeting, I was flagged down by Don Kramer, indicated that on Center Street, and it's really not directly Parks and Recreation, but was funny that he said that I guess Waste Management's trash truck took out a whole bunch of trail fencing today. And I don't know if it was reported or is considered a hit and run, but camera or film was taken of the accident. So if we need anything to get reimbursed for that trail fencing, they have the photographs. Okay. That's all I had.
Thank you. Jason?
Oh, I don't have much. I want to say good luck to Corinne and Todd. I want to thank you for a lot of hard work you've been doing. I know you guys don't really know this, but I've talked to Todd probably weekly. Give him a call and just, over all the different things been going on. So I want to thank him and thank him for answering my phone calls. Other than that, yeah, he just doesn't put it down and go, I'll deal with that later. Yeah. But, Patty working hard on all this, Alejandro working really hard on the youth sports. I mean, we've been going over a lot of that stuff lately. It's been kind of crazy. And Brian, I want to thank you for all the different things you've been doing there's a lot here. It's a long meeting. It's there's a lot of information came out today, and to thank you for overseeing all these people and getting all this stuff done.
Wayne?
Nothing really to add other than thanks to the staff of the city for putting all this together, my fellow commissioners for putting up with long nights and lots of meetings and those stupid phone call things that I have to do with Alejandra. I hate those. Where there's silence and then is somebody saying something? Oh, I'll be glad when we get away from those, I'll tell you that. And Corinne, good luck with wherever you go.
And last but not least.
I don't want to cry again. But yeah, great meeting tonight for sure. It is really going to be awesome to see facilities open up again and get people out and playing and doing stuff. Todd, you are going to have a lot of work ahead of you, so you're going to kind of ease into it maybe, and then, it'll be, maybe you'll be able to get used to it that way, because it is there's a lot that's coming down that hopefully everything will be opening back up, and that will be amazing. And it has been a good ride.
And with that, I will tell you that, dang, I got some phone calls to give you, because there's so much knowledge that you have that is so important on so many levels in this whole town. You've been an integral part to so many things. You've dabbled with a lot of it, and staff has been amazing. They put together tremendous PowerPoints tonight, a lot of information. Hopefully our arenas and everything will all get back to going to playing games and rodeos and dog shows, and everybody will be back to semi-normal. I don't think we'll ever be normal, but much better. So with that, is there anything else from anybody? With that, I would like to adjourn this meeting. When? May 10th. And I adjourn the meeting. Thank you.